Okay, looks like we're live here with College Talk Tuesday. I am Andy Lockwood, joined by...
Pearl Lockwood.
Oh, it's Pearl.
Hi.
Yeah, I got a little feedback here. Let me turn down my volume. This time it's me who's the bad guy.
Ha.
Oh, I think I did that. Anyway, so College Talk Tuesday is where we talk about college stuff, including financial aid, including the Common App, including just general things that are going on. I actually have an interesting story that was in the Wall Street Journal yesterday that I thought we would talk about, and then we'll get right into some new information about financial aid for certain schools. You broke a story last week about Quinnipiac. You had a conversation with the financial aid office at Cornell the other day, and we also, if we have time, we also want to talk to you a little bit about some stuff we learned from the first ever incomparable applicant boot camp that we did this weekend. It's a very interesting group of people, and we're still working with I guess every one of them. And I thought that was really fun.
I thought
Did
it was
you?
fun.
Grueling, but fun.
Fun.
Not grueling? You told me you
Grueling.
didn't go to the bathroom
I didn't.
after six
Well,
points
that's where I
back
was.
to back.
I was just kicking around fun.
Okay.
It's fun for me in a dorky way.
Yeah. All right, so real quick, there's an article about how the Ivy League doesn't need taxpayers' help. This was an op-ed piece in the Wall Street Journal, I believe, yesterday, Monday. And I guess the main point that I took away from this is that the average subsidy for each Ivy League school was about $102,000 per student each year. And tuition is in the $60,000 range. So it was very interesting what this article calls for in terms of recommendations, for colleges that may not need this type of help. But I think it's a good article just to read anyway, because it gives you a little bit of insight into how the whole financial aid and federal subsidy thing works, how that whole game is played. So I recommend that. Okay, let's move on to what you learned from Quinnipiac. So 2 weeks, I guess last week, you had talked about how there are two main forms that many colleges require. One is the FAFSA, which is required by 4,000 colleges, free application for federal student aid, for federal aid. And the other form is the CSS profile. And generally speaking, 270 colleges require the profile, which is much more complicated and convoluted. Every college, all 4,000 of them, require the FAFSA. So things change. And we've been through, in the last 12 months, a few financial aid changes at the global level in terms of what forms are, or how the forms are being filed now, what the time frames, what information they're looking at. But also, each school occasionally will change their requirements.
That's correct.
So discuss that.
That's right.
And, I'm sorry, please like, comment, and share if you are joining us. Introduce yourselves. Say, give us a little shout out in the comment section. I am checking out the page on Facebook right now.
And I'm going to delve into the Quinnipiac issue. Okay, so I do say generally every single year, and we remind people you need to check a school's website. That would be your number one go-to place if you have any doubt, question, etc. about some part of the deadline, application, anything. But Quinnipiac, before this year, required the FAFSA and the CSS profile if you were seeking aid. So at the beginning of this year, I started submitting some of our clients' financial aid forms and was having trouble populating Quinnipiac into the CSS profile. It was not taking, so I went to their website, as I recommend, and it still said CSS profile on their website. So I was...
Well, you went to their website just because you were suspicious?
I was suspicious, and I wanted to first...
You suspected foul play?
I suspected something was up. So I wanted to get their actual code, their federal code, which was there on their website. So I said, okay, they are still taking the CSS profile. And I still tried to populate it, still tried to do it, and it wasn't taking. So finally, I said, this is crazy. I'm going to call the financial aid office. I called the financial aid office there, and they informed me they are no longer taking the CSS profile. They're not requiring the CSS profile, which means Quinnipiac is now a FAFSA-only school. I said, well, you have it still listed on your website as a requirement. And she said, we know, because those who are entering this spring, as in January 2017, those applicants do still need to complete the CSS profile. However, anybody thereafter, which includes our current seniors in high school, do not need to fill out the CSS profile for Quinnipiac. So
which of course is not clear on the site.
Is absolutely not there on the site. Doesn't tell you that at all. So I said, wow, you must be getting a lot of phone calls. Anyhow, she was, yeah. Okay.
A little awkward silence after that?
Yeah. But what's more meaningful about this is therefore the information then that a Quinnipiac is now not looking at in evaluating your financial aid award. And what that leads to, it means that there is really a strategy to this. And for certain schools that you are applying to...
You mean you shouldn't just wing it?
No, you should not just wing it, but you also, we often talk about there is a strategy in applying for financial aid, in maximizing your both need and or merit-based financial aid in terms of strategically picking schools to balance out your list. But where this might come into play is, so we know, if you've been listening, that the CSS profile requires information about your home, your primary residence, the mortgage outstanding on it, its value, your retirement assets, annuities, etc. A whole lot more information that they calculate your award on than just the FAFSA, which does not include some of those things. So your award at a Quinnipiac may look very different now than it would have a year ago, and for that matter, currently enrolled students at Quinnipiac. Anyhow, so just it underscores the need to be strategic about your financial and about your college list and about your application.
Well, and the other thing, I guess, is in terms of if you have any shot at improving your eligibility for financial aid, because the FAFSA and the profile, like Pearl said, treat savings and other things differently. So if you were considering, for example, taking money out of a savings account and purchasing an annuity in order to, quote unquote, move your savings off of your financial aid balance sheet, which is perfectly legal and ethical. If you were looking at Quinnipiac under the old rules, when they took the CSS profile, they may not have worked, but under the new rules for the FAFSA, that does work.
Yes.
Because the FAFSA and the profile treat the annuities differently.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. So now let's switch gears and talk about the conversation you had with the financial aid office at Cornell, your alma mater, when you were trying to secure a parent loan for our clients.
Exactly. So normally when I try to secure a Parent Plus loan, this is usually for those who have current seniors in high school. This is typically a spring conversation, but I was taking care of something for somebody who has an already enrolled student who was seeking to secure a Parent Plus loan for this current year that we're in. And normally you go on the studentloan.org site, studentloans.org, which is the federal website to basically document your financial loans. And you pick your school, and there are a bunch of questions you have to ask, and you have to apply for a Parent Plus loan on that site with the parent's FSA ID username and password.
So what is FSA ID?
The FSA ID is what students use to electronically sign their FAFSA, and parents get their own FSA ID. It is similar to a Social Security number. It's only you have it, and because we've been asked this question, if you have two different kids in college at the same time? Does the parent have the same FSA ID on both kids' application? Yes, because you're the same person. Anyhow, so the FSA ID one uses to electronically sign and submit their FAFSA, but it's also used to access the student loan website and apply for student loans or rather secure your student loan as a student, and also apply for a Parent Plus loan and secure a parent loan as well. So anyhow, it's a twofold process for applying for the Parent Plus loan. There is applying for it, and then there's completing your what's called master promissory note for that that loan.
So just before we get in the weeds too much.
Okay.
If you're just joining us, this is College Talk Tuesday. We're talking about the parent loan. Now, typically, you would not apply for the parent loan until spring of the after you found out where your kid is going to school. If you have someone graduating in 2017, you would not be doing this until probably at least April, probably May, maybe even June. Now, Pearl's talking about a recent experience because we have a client who's worked with us over the years,
right,
who was looking to get this for the spring. So I don't want anyone to freak out and think this is they're behind the eight ball. How do they do this? What are you talking about?
Correct.
But the point of this segment is that Pearl was doing what she does for 99% of all the other schools, and looking on the federal website in order to fill out the application on behalf of our client, but they told you that that's not where to go, right?
Well, before I got into the applying for the Parent Plus loan, and halfway through the application, when I populated Cornell University, it popped up with like a big red X saying, this school doesn't take applications for plus loans this way. You must contact the institution. So I contacted the institution.
After a brief, very calm, slightly confused discussion with me.
That's so
very calm.
So me, yes.
And very brief.
Also not me. We all know that. Okay. So Cornell said, yeah, you have to get the application from our forms, and basically the nice lady helped navigate me through click, 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 click. 10 clicks later on their site to uncover the application for the Plus loan, which they explained I have to complete that first, and then I can go back on the student loan site to complete the master promissory note, which is what I typically do. But it's like just this convoluted thing. And then she admitted, she said, we tried to get our stuff on and this is the Ivy League, Cornell, my alma mater. We tried to get this stuff ready for this year so that it would just be all there and accessible but we didn't get it together, so maybe next year. I was like, great. So anyway, again, there is a lack of uniformity in this while there is some uniformity, there's a lack of uniformity, and schools differ, how they use this information differs. If there's a question about anything and you're applying to a particular school, look at the website, contact the financial aid office if you have any questions.
Right. So and don't underestimate the amount of time it's going to take, because Pearl is quite seasoned, when it comes to this stuff, and she spent a lot of time initially trying to figure out where should I be applying, and then after that she had to spend 20, 30 minutes on hold, before you actually got someone, and then when she finally got someone,
I sprinted back. I was like, hello.
Yeah, you were in the other room or something.
Is it human?
Yeah, you were shouting from the kitchen. And then after that, it was, like she said, multiple clicks that no one could possibly find unless you're like a forensic computer hacker guy,
or an IT person for Cornell,
or perhaps Vladimir Putin, a WikiLeaks guy. Who knows? Little topical comment there.
I know.
How'd that work?
Good. I hope I hear they're a little internet challenged these days.
The Wiki guy?
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll see. Who knows? I don't think we'll ever know the real truth.
Will we? No.
Anyway, so let's talk a little bit about, and I don't really know how to sort of open this little segment, but I don't, it was really interesting. We had about 9 kids working with us for most of the day Saturday, sort of last minute going through the essays, a little bit on the applications, a little bit on college selection, not enough in retrospect. And what was interesting to me was that in terms of the composition of the people, first of all, it was 8 girls, 1 guy, which is kind of typical, because girls seem to get this stuff and take it more seriously than guys. We had a lot of phone calls from people ahead of the boot camp saying, "Wow, this is great. I just can't make it. I think it's a great idea. It's kind of expensive. Those types of things." But we knew that we had sort of hit a chord. And in terms of the backgrounds of the people who'd signed up, really interesting sort of cross section of different family structures, different economic types of backgrounds,
savings patterns,
savings or lack of savings. It was really all kinds of people: self-employed people, regular W-2 people, kids who'd overcome some pretty severe obstacles. So it was really just interesting. And I think I guess my first comment is that's one of the things that kind of juices us a little bit in terms of being able to meet new interesting people and helping them. And it's just that's one of the, I guess, the side products of having the business that we have. But what types of lessons do you think that can you share in terms of the financial aid? So a part of the boot camp was also a financial aid boot camp. So I split off with the 9 kids and we went into a conference room down the hall from our office. And Pearl then had back-to-back appointments with the parents in our office in privacy. So are there any types of things you think would be helpful for people who are either going through this process now for the first time with seniors or maybe have younger kids?
Yes. Well, a couple of different things that I took away. But yes, you definitely hit it on the head in terms of the overall commentary, is how fascinating it was to see all things and all types along the bell curve of financial responsibility and finances in general, and how they looked at this process. But some of the important takeaways.
You sounded a little judgy there.
No.
Is that what you meant?
Nope.
So you say financial responsibility, what do you mean?
Well, okay, so we had one family, and I'll bring this up first because it'll bring up another point, who, and we rarely hear about this, who lives under their means.
I don't think we rarely hear about that. I think we have a lot of clients who are pretty conservative that way in terms of economically.
Okay, well...
I beg to differ, madam.
Anyhow. Well, there's living responsibly, and then there's living beneath your means. Mm-hmm. Okay, and one family who I worked with on over the weekend they have a ton of assets. They have their house paid off in full. Their house, relatively speaking, in terms of Long Island prices, was not very, very expensive. It was moderate. The income earning of the wife was significant, and she had basically done, and I also found she was not born in this country and has worked her ever-loving tuchus off since she's gotten here.
By the way, that explains it right there.
So,
because we talk about this a lot. There's a documented drop-off from the immigrant generation to the next generation to the next generation in terms of work ethic, academic achievements, and so forth. So that doesn't surprise me at all. It really doesn't. But what I think is cool is it just shows you that there are choices to be made.
Absolutely.
We find a lot of parents. She was the
real live American dream.
We find a lot of parents, and she's not making. I mean, she's making a good income, right? Yeah. But it's not staggering, right?
No.
But she's lived very conservatively, below her means,
very responsibly.
But I think the point that I took away from when you were telling me all this is that two things. Number one is that now she's being penalized for that in the financial. Okay, so I'll let you handle that one.
Thanks.
And the second one, I was a little sarcastic. That was some microaggression right there, and that's my new favorite word. And I think the second thing is that how she lives and conducts herself is a choice, and I think we find a lot of, and maybe it's because of the field that we're in, or because of where we live, or some combination, we find a lot of families that are sort of stuck with decisions that they made, and a lot of those decisions are predicated on trying to keep up with other people, the proverbial Joneses, all that type of stuff. So that's probably a whole other topic, but that drove it home to me. And
absolutely.
So I guess if you're watching and you're one of those people who feels stuck, you're really not. There's always a choice to be made. You may not like it, it may be hard, no one said it's going to be easy, but there's always a choice.
But when you rip that Band-Aid off and you get on the other side of it, I promise you'll feel better. But yes, so that was the other thing.
So talk
Unfortunately, she said, I assume I make too much, have too much to qualify for financial aid, and of course I was able to do some crunching and analyzing, and yes,
crunching.
Lo and behold, this woman who's worked her ever-loving us off has qualified for no need-based aid, and she is, because this is the rules of the Department of Education in our country, penalizes people who have been responsible with their finances. And on the contrary...
Are you recommending that people not be responsible?
Well, for financial aid purposes, I am not recommending that you be irresponsible, but I am recommending that you do some strategic planning before it's too late, before this juncture, before you are actually putting in your applications.
So you were able to, I think you did this that day, I think it was with a different family, actually, right? You were able to show...
Well, I did something with this family too.
Okay.
Continue.
So 2 out of the 7 or 8 families that you sat with had money saved in a place that was going to severely dampen their, maybe even totally negate their ability to receive any type of aid. So just at the last minute, which you can do in the financial aid rules, because the forms have to be accurate as of the date they're filed.
And the assets have to be true of the date you file, as compared to the income is going to be a prior year look back.
So anyway, so what you were able to do is to show them, well, you have some last minute things that really could quadruple your eligibility.
Correct. Well, in this case, they were not going to qualify for need-based aid necessarily, but they're still going to be submitting the forms, because many schools require that you submit these financial aid forms, the ones that are required at those schools, in order to be considered for merit aid. So, and each school is different again, and there is not some one uniform list out there that tells you which schools require them for merit aid. So you're better off, when in doubt, submit the forms. Okay? That way it triggers each school to prepare an award, and how that award is cobbled together with merit aid, loans, need-based aid, what have you, you become entitled to an award package from that school just by submitting these financial aid forms.
Let's talk about some other lessons.
Well, anyway, with this particular family, what I was able to illuminate for her, no, they would not be need eligible this year. However, I saw that they had a kid who's only 2 years behind, and this we see a lot. We see families who, with kid 1, and I just took a walk with somebody the other day who had this, with kid 1,
non-boot camp walk, just a walk.
With child
Power
1,
walk.
They are non-need eligible based on the formulas. And so they just say, oh, forget it, and they don't bother ever applying for financial aid again. However, things change dramatically when you add an additional student to that hopper. So now when you have 2 kids in school, even this very responsible family, once you add that second kid in school, she's going to qualify for need-based aid.
And the reason for that is the number they expect you to contribute gets split among however many kids you have in college, not high school, in college at the same time.
Right. So once that is split, and if that figure, your estimated family contribution, is now lower than 1 year cost of attendance at a school, well, then you become eligible for need, because you're demonstrating need.
Right, and she went from a position, I think, thinking it's hopeless, I'll never qualify, to sitting down with you and realizing, oh, maybe I do have a shot.
That's right.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay, and there's another family who was very similar in that they had perhaps a lower income on paper, but they had a lot of money saved. They'd been through some rough times. They lost a whole lot of money in
some of the scandalous,
a publicly, if we said the name, you would know it.
right?
Very very highly publicized type of scandal, and they were a little gun shy, I guess.
Yes, that's exactly why.
Of being burned again,
Right.
by potentially sheltering their money by making some kinds of adjustments. We were able to talk to them in general terms about the potential opportunities that they could have, which really would have taken them from paying full price
Yes.
to paying probably less than 50%.
That is definitely
based
true.
on
I remember.
Yeah, exactly. So there a lot of times people who think in both, I guess the commonality here to both case studies is that many times people think they have no shot at qualifying, but it turns out they did. And it's just interesting to me that 2 out of the 9
Right.
families, it's really 8 families because one was twins, were in that position. It's
Exactly.
just sort of like a microcosm of our practice.
Right.
Yeah.
And I know sometimes we sound a little like we're being vague if we're like, well, I can't just answer that question in a vacuum, but it is true because there are so many moving parts to this. And it's really like it depends on everything else you got going on. Like how many kids do you have in school, and if not this year, maybe next year or the year after, or maybe your kid who's currently in, a grad student. Those all count as having multiple kids in college. And your income could be one thing, and your assets could be very controllable, and where we move that is going to vary greatly on the financial aid impact. So,
And to be fair, many people it doesn't pay off to do that at all.
and we will say that too.
Yeah.
It won't make a difference
Yeah.
because for whatever, for something else in their whole picture that causes that to be so.
Will you check the Facebook
Sure.
page just to see how we're doing? Because mine froze for some reason. I do.
I see
I
me
do
yip-yapping.
Yeah, good. That's good. I'm
yeah.
kind of frozen here.
I see myself
I
looking
see
at-
Patricia
Okay, we're
Hayes,
live.
who's watching. So hello.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us. But yeah, I'm getting like a choppy feed here. So hopefully no one's experiencing that. In terms of the applications and the essay component, we were dealing with a lot of stressed out parents who were like, "Please, you take them. It's your problem now. I don't want to deal with her anymore." That type of thing. And then I was able to get all these kids in a room without the parents. Although one parent tried to invade our fortress of solitude, if you will, and once they were all away from their parents. It was a very nice group of kids, very collegial. We were all bouncing ideas off of each other in terms of how to answer certain essay questions. A couple of kids had drafted their essays before, and we were able to kind of tweak those and improve those. What happened afterward is that the essays that had been submitted to me, we were able to send those out to one of our essay admissions / just college guru people who've been admissions officers at University of Chicago, which admits 7%, so it's a really hard school to get into, and they've cumulatively read thousands of essays. So we had these. Now the kids are in the process of implementing a lot of the changes and getting everything done. But what I was struck by was, again, we had some really interesting, all sorts of personalities. One kid who would overcome just heart-wrenching, amazing obstacles that would be like a Lifetime after-school special type of type of TV show, where that wasn't Lifetime back when we were growing up. It was like the ABC after-school special. or
Yeah,
something
but
like
it's
that.
Lifetime now. Definitely.
Okay. So anyway, that was really very, very interesting, and the feedback that we got was great. So that was gratifying. But I guess the takeaway from this is that many times when it's like we have this with our own family. Many times it's counterproductive for a parent to be the one just kind of harassing the kid over and over again because they tune it out. They know what's coming. And in our case, we were able to be the sort of the unaffiliated third party, no emotional baggage voice of reason to work with the kids without all that emotional drama type stuff. And sometimes that's the best way to go. I think it is in many cases. Personally, we haven't had the easiest time getting our kid, our 12th grader, to do his applications and all that. But he came around.
He did.
Because we were not dramatic about it. We were just like, hey, it's your life. You do it.
Well, some people would call it like a takeaway. We're like, guy, this is
or,
all you.
Or ignoring.
Yeah. No, but it's the truth is you can't want it more than the kid.
Yep.
Anyway,
before we get up on the team, that's a whole other topic. I know where you're going with that. I don't mean to cut you off, but we have to wrap up here.
Okay. I did want to make one of the other my impression and the feedback I got from a lot of the families. It unstuck them from the inertia that this process can bring on them. Like one person in particular, I know outside of this context, and I see her periodically. And anytime I saw her, she knew the business I was in. I would see her, and she would be like, "Oh," because every time she saw me, she's like, "I'm reminded of what I haven't been doing yet for college," and she was like frozen. She's like paralyzed with fear and inertia, and not knowing how to move.
You?
What? No, she would. Hey, she said she liked seeing me.
Okay. Sounds like she got really tense and clenched up every time.
Well, I unclenched her this weekend, I'll have you know. So lots of people, just feel that there's just information overload on the topic out there, and they feel stuck and really a sense of paralysis for how do I go, what direction do I go, and what's the best foot to put forward on behalf of my family,
and they
my
do nothing.
child, and they do nothing.
So that's what I was going to say. So this is not a commercial for us at all.
No, that's just the truth. We're giving you feedback.
We're not right for everyone. I actually fired a client yesterday because sometimes it doesn't work out. But whatever you end up doing, if you have kids who are younger, please get them to start working on this stuff one way, by hook or by crook, whether it's with you or an English teacher or an older, a tutor, or of course you can contact us, but someone else if you feel like you're going to have that type of obstacle.
The train is leaving the station with or without you.
Well, that's a whole other issue. A lot of times people ask us, when's the right time to start, getting serious about college planning.
Right.
And we did a good job, I thought, with some last minute boot camp. People who really, some kids hadn't done anything. They hadn't touched the application. They hadn't touched their essays. And here we are. It was October 15th.
Right.
And they're trying to, and the mom was like freaking out because she wanted to get everything in by November 1st for early action. And I said, well, first of all, I don't know how realistic that is. But second of all, I'm not sure how much it really matters, and that's a whole other topic. But I think what you have to understand is that whether or not you're ready, like Pearl said, it's like a train. It comes and goes on its own schedule. It doesn't care if you're ready or not. Trains don't have feelings. Neither does the college process. But the flip side of that coin is that, and again, this actually is related to my comment about firing a client. Before I started working with her, the mom and I had multiple conversations. She wasn't sure if the kid was ready or not. I certainly wasn't sure, but the kid, maybe to please her mom or for some other reasons, after about 2 or 3 conversations, said, no, I'm ready, I want to start, and then proceeded to miss our first 2 appointments and be hard to schedule in between those 2. So I said, listen, I don't want to chase anyone around. I don't want to take your money, for someone who's not benefiting from the advice. I think we should suspend things for now, and then if and when she is ready to think about this or to allocate the right time for it, then we should start. But my point here is that although the timeline occurs, whether or not you feel emotionally ready for it or not, if your child, like you said, doesn't want it as much as you do, that's probably normal. But if they're not willing to do any of the work, then I would say, don't waste your money on us or someone else, that you'd have to pay, because you're just setting yourself up for less in the bank and more emotional stress.
That's right. Yeah. And college may not be right. College may not be right now. Or by the time that particular student, this student was a bit younger, and maybe the notion of college and the college application process is too abstract for this student. But with or without you, I guess with our son, I think the thing I've tried to say to him year after year is, look, this is going to happen. All your peers are going to be doing this, and I just want you to be happy and comfortable with the choices that you will or won't have. But we shall see.
Yep, it's all about choices. That was the theme, I guess, today.
Yes.
All right, so this was great. I see we're getting some comments here, and we will get to those right after we wrap up. Thanks a lot for watching. Pearl and Andy Lockwood. We are. This is College Success for Less, College Talk Tuesday. It was today's show, and on Friday we have our Frequently Asked Questions show, FACUS Friday, right here at 2 p.m. Eastern. Are you going to be around for that one?
I believe I will.
I know you have an active schedule. She's seeing Amy Schumer tonight.
Yeah. Yep.
And doing 50 FAFSAs.
Yeah.
Not at Amy Schumer.
No.
All right. So yeah, next time we're on the air, Friday 2 p.m. Eastern. Thanks a lot for watching. Talk to you soon. Bye bye.